It's the Blues Rock Show with Pete Francis and Willie Witten.
Welcome to the Blues Rock Show. Pete Francis alongside Willie Witten. Today, our special guest is Anthony Gomes. He's set to release High Voltage Blues on September 23rd. Anthony, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Oh, man. Thank you guys for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, so High Voltage Blues, you're releasing this on Rat Pack Records. I've got to ask you, I feel like you've been a really good model over the years for the independent artist. So what went into the decision to sign with a record label here?
Well, you know, it's always been two or three people against the world in our little indie organization. And now we have 10 against the world. So, you know, that's a great feeling.
Yeah.
You know, Rat Pack is not, you know, they're still subscribed to the indie philosophy, you know, and they take so much care and effort. There were a few things that really swayed me. One was the quality of their releases, and they have these great fan bundles. And I just felt like all the little holes that we had, they could come in and fill in. And we're the first act that they've ever signed that they approached in their 20-year career. And they're more of a legacy rock label, legacy act rock label. You know, a lot of people like George Lynch or King's X. They had signed projects with guys from Queensryche or Cinderella. So the president of the label was listening to Gary Moore on one of these streaming things, and it put our song up next. And he was like, wow, this is an act I think that could move units in the rock world. So, yeah, we've always been marketed in the blues highway as blues rock, and now we've just got another lane, you know. But so yeah, so it's a pretty cool thing, and I'm very excited to be part of that team. And it's not going to change what we do at all. We're still going to be loud, dirty, and nasty blues rock and roll.
So you'd say more or less. It sounds to me that it's much of a similar experience. You guys just have a little more clout because you've got some strength in numbers helping each other out.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, they're a very cool label, and they have the respect of a lot of our peers as being just a real honest and great label to work with. So, yeah, absolutely. I just feel like, you know, we got a couple extra bullets in the chamber, you know, and that feels really good.
Anthony, one thing I want to ask you about is the artwork for this album, because a lot of people might not necessarily know that you are kind of an artist yourself and you designed this artwork. So tell me, like, when you got into artwork and design and how this kind of came about with you designing the album cover.
Well, thank you for asking. Basically what happened was all my favorite graphic designers were too busy. So it started off with like t-shirt designs, and it's like, man, hey, can I have a t-shirt design I need it for, you know, whatever, you know, I need it for September, and then August I'd get the design, and it's like, we're already on a new album, man. So out of necessity, you know, that's sort of been, I guess, my career in a nutshell. I didn't start off singing either. I just played guitar, and nobody wanted to sing in my new blues band that I was creating when I was in college, you know. So yeah, out of necessity. But I've really learned that there is a parallel between audio and visual, you know, and the same. You try to tell a story if you're making a video or you're doing a song or you're creating artwork. So that's been a fun journey to take. Yeah, it just takes a lot of hours if you want to do it well, like anything else.
So with also the sound of the album, it veers towards some of the more rock flavored numbers in your career and the vibe to it. With that, the cover reminds me a little bit of AC/DC's High Voltage. It's sort of
Right
there, and you're electrified and you're ready. Did that have any sort of influence on your design?
Well, of course, AC/DC, you know, the idea of High Voltage Blues was, I've always loved AC/DC and B.B. King, and that sort of has been a retrospective. So the label came up, what do you think of High Voltage Blues? Because they saw it on some of our t-shirts or things of that nature. And at first I was like, well, that's really close to AC/DC. But I felt like, you know what, this is who I am. Actually, the two big inspirations for that cover, at the time I was listening to a lot of Black Pumas, And they
Okay.
have a very, I looked at that album and I said, man, this says 70s rock and roll to me, or R&B. It was very simple, a few elements, a few colors, and it sort of told a story. And then T-Rex Electric Warrior has always been one of my favorite album covers of all time. So I basically started there with just a very, two color design, and then the lightning bolt. Well, that's high voltage. There's a little ode to Angus. So yeah, and our Joe, who's the president of Rat Pack, said, "Hey, I think we want to press this on colored vinyl. What do you think of this crazy orange, yellow swirls thing?" And that ended up being the circle that's behind me on the album. The idea is that I'm, standing in, behind the music. I'm standing in front of the music, and then there's a lightning, and so that was sort of the thinking of it, and yeah, but all those influences, yeah, I'm not afraid to wear them on my sleeve, and I'm not, it's like, hey, yeah, there's some BB King, there's some Albert King, there's some Angus Young, there's a little Black Pumas in there, and just throw that out there.
If I may ask, if we're talking about, is there a little Paul Kossoff in there on Bluesified?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Here's a guy that doesn't get mentioned nearly enough.
I know.
And I got into vinyl about a decade ago, right? So here's a really sad admission. I'm going to come clean and confession here on the Blues Rock Show. I loved Bad Company. I loved The Firm. I was aware of Paul Rogers' solo work, but I hadn't heard Free.
Wow.
Like 10 years ago. Yeah, I hadn't heard Free, whatever. I heard, of course, All Right Now, and then I bought the Heartbreaker album, and I was like, what have I, here's my favorite.
That's a great
band.
album.
It's a great album, so here's my favorite band of all time that I didn't know existed, that I found in the middle of my life. It was the greatest discovery, man. So definitely a tip of the hat to Paul Kossoff and Free, and even playing a Les Paul, was something that I haven't done that often, but a tip of the hat to Paul for sure. That's a good catch, man. Good catch.
So on this new album, you've got Billy Sheehan on a couple tracks, who obviously phenomenal bass player, Ray Luzier from Korn. What was it like working with these guys and having them on the album?
Man, well, I grew up, in high school, and Billy Sheehan was like Eddie Van Halen of bass, and those guys are on 5 tracks on the record. And again, the label's ideas. They said, "Hey, man, you've done these songs in a certain way. Instead of repackaging or making it just a best of." And the thinking of that was to introduce our music to a new group of people who hadn't heard it. But why don't we just, put an extra little coat of paint on it and have these guys play on the album? Man, it was wonderful. They're great human beings, really cool guys, monstrous musicians. And I was really inspired because I feel like they pushed my playing in a much different direction, because I'm getting all this insane stuff to play around. And it kind of reminded me of Cream in some ways. For the first time, I was like going into my Eric Clapton bag of licks, or that approach, because there was so much stuff going on. Some of those simpler riffs and licks were really meshing well. So it was a lot of fun. It was like when an actor gets to play a different role,
Yeah.
And use some skill sets that they haven't used. I felt like that was part of that with having Billy and Ray on it.
So you talk about the fresh coat of paint, and this is coming from you. I'm going to put you on the spot. Is there a song or two that you really think that Gomes fans need to go out and listen to the song, because listen to how we play it this time around? Are there a couple examples that you're exceptionally proud of? Obviously, you're proud of the whole record, but there are a couple that you think Gomes fans are really going to dig into?
We did a new version of Peace, Love, and Loud Guitars. That's pretty cool. That's a little bit more in your face. A song called Born to Ride. And I know Jack Bruce is down in heaven looking at Billy Sheehan saying, "Man, you did a really great job on that, Billy." So yeah, I'm very proud of sort of like Sting said you never finish an album, you abandon it. And I believe that, uh, by doing a lot of these songs, I think there's 9 that we redid. You sort of get to look back at it and say, oh yeah, I would have done those 4 things differently. Let's do them. So I think a lot of these versions, they're a lot more true to the initial vision. And we also had a gentleman named Chris Collier mix this record, and Chris works with a lot of heavyweights, so it was great to have a mix engineer of his caliber look at these songs, and I feel like they're a bit more powerful, and for lack of a better word, relevant or contemporary sounding.
A while back, you recorded an album with New Soul Cowboys, which was a bit of a venture off from what you were doing at the time. This was more of a Southern rock thing. You've re-explored some of those songs, including Painted Horse on this album. What was it like kind of getting back in and redoing those songs?
New Soul Cowboys was it divided my audience for whatever reason. Probably because it wasn't, I'd say, launched in the right way. Like Joe Bonamassa does Black Country Communion, but there's still going to be Joe Bonamassa. I think a lot of people, our change management wasn't really great when we launched New Soul Cowboys. So some people were very upset that we're longtime fans. They thought we were abandoning our past work. So there were some people that loved it and some people that just didn't like change. But I always felt like the songs were very strong. And now doing them again without any of that baggage is great. And I feel like over the years, everything's gotten more rocked up. The symphony's more rocked up. The country music's more rocked up. The blues is more rocked up. So these songs just seem to fit in with where we are today. And I think people are listening without prejudice, which is awesome. So yeah, it's been very exciting, to finally see the kids go off to college. All right, guys, it took you a while, but here you go.
So you mentioned we've been talking about influences, and it's always interesting talking about influences with you. We throw around the term student of the blues. I think a lot of people don't know that you actually were a student of the blues, and not just plain, but an academic sense. One of someone that probably influenced you somewhere along the line, a guy named Buddy Guy, is putting out yet another record. He's going to be 86, Pete, is that right?
86, yeah.
Mr. Gomes, 86, is that something that inspires you to keep playing? Or do you think that at some point in your life, you designed your album cover, are you going to want to move into something else?
That's an excellent question. Right now, I feel great playing music. And there's so many creative things about the music industry, so maybe at one point I may venture off, but I sure do love making music. I feel like I haven't completed my statement as a musician. There's still a lot I have to say. I don't feel like although this is a compilation record, artistically, I don't feel like I'm recycling anything. I feel like the best is yet to come as an artist. So I don't know, 86 is a good number to shoot for. I mean, even to be above ground. Yeah, I mean, look, Jeff Beck, another guy, he's the best guitar player in the world, and he's he gets the senior discounts wherever he goes. So it's very, very inspiring. And even when I was a younger man, the blues always fascinated me because it was a music of wisdom and age. And it seemed like it was real for that. I mean, I was going to see Buddy Guy and B.B. King when they were in their 60s, and to me, that was just so inspiring back then because a blues career is more like, you may not win the Grammy for Album of the Year, but you'll win a Lifetime Achievement Award because it's a career. Whereas, other genres or other styles of music, hey, yeah, you'll sell a million records, let's say, in 2 years, and then that's it. In the blues, you sell 20,000 every year, but after doing it for 80 years, you've sold your million records. So it's a sort of I like that approach. I like that that it's a journey as an artist.
Yeah, talking about kind of those guys, like Walter Trout is another great example of that. I think he's putting out now, it's like over maybe his 30th album this year, which is just phenomenal. And he just keeps putting out album out after album, like year after year after year. What's it like when you see a guy like that? I mean, does that make you hungry to kind of do the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, these guys are setting the precedent. You know, I remember when, you know, Mick Jagger said he wouldn't be playing rock and roll after 30, and he didn't trust anybody that was older than 30. And now he's 130 out there doing it. So, you know, it's very, very inspiring. And seeing a guy like Walter, who's a hero, I love his music. I love the guy. I love everything about Walter Trout. And here he is doing it and making great, great music. So it's very inspiring. And it also lets you know, hey, man, come on, you got to keep up. You got to eat your Wheaties. These guys are doing it. You know, you can't let the guy, you know, of course, Walter's amazing. And you know, but, you know, there's that little voice, hey, man, this guy's 20 years older than you. And he's awesome, you know, so you can't get your butt kicked too bad, you know, by this guy. So, yeah, I think it inspires us, and it inspires even people starting out. Like when I was starting out, it's like, yes, you know, I can do this. This is a viable thing. And it's really exciting. Super exciting.
So you're looking at this record that's coming out in a little less than 2 weeks. When you're done with the record and the final push, and like you said, this time you did the artwork, and there's so many things that go on behind the scenes that people don't see. When you're done, do you take that moment and just breathe and just say, okay, I'm going to go swim in lakes for a week, or I don't know, or Anthony, I don't know, whatever you do? Or are you someone who hits one album and you're right on to the next?
I hit one and I'm on to the next. I may sleep for 2 days or something. Catch up on a little sleep. But I've tried a new thing, Willie, called vacations, which I had never done before. For my musician friends who are not aware of them, that's where you take a week off work and you go someplace and forget about work. It's a really cool thing. So I have one planned in November, go down to Florida. And yeah, you know, go to the beach, swim in a lake, you know. But no, I mean, we're probably 20 songs deep into a follow-up record. You know, we've been working on one since 2018. We released Containment Blues in 2020, but that was sort of a snapshot of 3 months of
the pandemic.
COVID and the pandemic. Yeah, and then it was like, okay, now let's get back to this other album. And then just when I thought I was going to get back to it, we signed with this label, and they go, hey, we want to do a career retrospective to introduce you to a new audience. So I'm like, okay, let's re-record these songs and put this album again on the side. But yeah, you know, I would say we'd have a follow-up very quickly, except it takes 8 months to press vinyl now. So I think we're probably looking at a release late next year. But I can say with full confidence that there's a lot of great music in the can, and we can't wait for people to hear it. So yeah, so there's no rest, man, no rest. Walter's making a record a year, guys. Come on,
Yeah.
I can't just sit here doing nothing. No,
Yeah, got to keep going. So High Voltage Blues out September 23rd. Anthony, it's always great to have you on the show. Any final thoughts before we let you go?
Well, I'd like to thank you guys, Pete and Willie, for doing what you guys do. I love the Blues Rock Show. I'm a fan. I watch it. I watch your posts. I get all the propaganda you guys send about top 10 songs. And you're doing a wonderful service to the music. And it's so appreciated by us artists. And thank you so very much for doing that. So I want to, you know, definitely recognize your hard work and your dedication. And I love the photo. All these, look, I just got 2 behind me. For 3, I mean, Pete, you've got like 8, and Willie, you've got every killer record known to man behind you. So I have to, next interview, I got to up my game here. You know, yeah. So thank you guys for all you do, and thanks to the fans. And I'm just really excited about this release, because I feel like as an artist, I've been scrapping in the alleys and playing every Pizza Hut and juke joint and getting our name out there. And finally, I feel like with this release, we've arrived to a larger audience. So that feels good. And thank you guys.
And if people
Thank
want to
you.
get that cool looking vinyl, Anthony, where can they go get it?
They can get it, Pete, at finer record stores across the world. I know it's on Amazon and physical product, anywhere where they probably get their vinyls. We've got great distribution. And at ratpack.com, that's RATPAK, or they can go to our website and get a link. We have exclusive fan bundles, which, guitar picks and stickers and unknown things that might be a fridge magnet or whatever. All these great things, posters and signed memorabilia that they can get over there if they want to fully nerd out on our new release. So, there you go. Thank you, everybody who's going to get the album. We're available to stream, all the good stuff,
Fantastic. Well, Anthony, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you, guys. All the best.
All right, that's going to wrap up this week's edition of the Blues Rock Show. For Anthony Gomes and Willie Witten, I'm Pete Francis. We'll see you next time.